TNT Sports presents the NASCAR Busch Series. Tonight, it's the Busch Silver Celebration 250 presented by Shop and Save from Gateway International Raceway in Madison, Illinois. Delayed by some nearly 90 minutes now by rain, a huge crowd has turned out nonetheless, celebrating 25 years of one of their local companies' pride and joy, the NASCAR Busch Series at the sports home track. The series sponsors home track, if you will. And boy, we had a downpour and a thunder and lightning storm earlier that cleared the grandstand, sent the teams and fans ducking for cover. But now, that beautiful orange last sign of sunset on the horizon and clearing skies, and now we're getting ready to get this race started.
As promised, we're back.
You did.
And we're going to take you to the invitation, and then we're going to get this race started.
You see everyone standing here at the racetrack. Let's go trackside for the ceremony.
And now, for the night's invocation, from Raceway Ministries and one of Gateway's own track chaplains, Mr. Mike Jones.
Let us pray. Lord, we come to you in prayer this evening, asking and thanking you for many things. We want to pray for the safety of the drivers, crew members, track personnel, and fans. We want to pray that you give the drivers strength in the situations which they feel they need it. We want to pray for all the brave men and women serving in our armed forces. May we never forget that freedom doesn't come free. And may we never forget those who paid the ultimate sacrifice in ensuring our freedom. In our Lord's name we pray. Amen.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, to honor America, please join in the singing of our national anthem as performed by 12-year-old St. Louis, Missouri native, Jabron Mitchell.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we held at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free? And the home of the
Ladies and gentlemen, 12-year-old Jabron.
And so it's almost time to go racing. While the drivers buckle in, we'll step out for a break. The green flag always better late than never. And we're going to see that when we come back to Gateway International Raceway in St. Louis in just a minute. The Busch Silver Celebration 250 gets started next on TNT. The skyline of St. Louis looking pretty now, instead of being all obscured by rain with lightning pounding down in the background like it was about 2 hours ago. And here at Gateway International Raceway, we're almost set to go with the Busch Silver Celebration 250. Alan Bestwick, Michael Waltrip, thanks for hanging in there with us. We're about to get to the very best time of the week.
Yeah, I've started close to 700 NASCAR races, or maybe more, I don't know how many. But whether it's me with all that experience or Stephen Wallace, who's only ran 4 or 5 races, Those words, gentlemen, start your engines. That's what you work for. You work so hard all week long. You prepare your car so well, hoping that when you hear those words, it's magic for you that night.
Yeah, we hope so. It's going to be magic for one of these drivers tonight. Now, let's get back to something we talked about briefly earlier, and that's the word options. On the track and in the pits, you think tonight's race comes down to options.
Yes, and that's the way all races should come down to, Alan. You want to have the ability to do something different than your competitors. Whether it's as simple as when you get down in the corner, he goes low, you go high. There's the ability to do that. And a track like St. Louis that has one end that's tighter than the other, guys will handle better in one end than they do the other, so that'll give options as well. Maybe a guy's better in 1 and 2 than he is 3 and 4, so he'll take advantage of that. And then the other thing is the way the tires hold up. These pit crew members are going to have options during this race. Do I pit early and get me some track position and try to hold on, or do I pit late? Everybody's going to be interested to know when the lead cars are going to make that final pit stop.
And strategy's been so important in winning these NASCAR races these days. As a driver, you're buckling in now. It's rain. The conditions have changed since you practiced your car last. What are you thinking about?
I'm thinking about if I'm on the inside, I can't bump that guy out of the way because I'm going to be loose up under him. And if I'm on the outside, I'm thinking this cat beside me might get into me. I got to be careful.
All right, so that's what the drivers are thinking as they buckle in. We know the crew chiefs are already fretting about making the right strategy call, playing that right option later on in the race. Kenny Wallace, he's just thinking about winning before his hometown fans at the Lou, and right now he's getting ready to start the engine in that car.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, for the most famous words in motorsports, the Grand Marshal for the Busch Silver Celebration 250, presented by Shop and Save. Please welcome the first ever NASCAR Busch Series champion, Mr. Jack Ingram.
Ladies and gentlemen, get ready to rumble! Start your engine!
Jack Ingram, called him the Iron Man. Had a chance to talk to him yesterday. In great spirits. Obviously loving his role as Grand Marshal tonight.
Oh, having a big time. That's a Busch regular. You wonder what a Busch regular is? Jack Ingram defined the Busch Series.
Green flag coming up from St. Louis next on TNT. We're ready. Cars are rolling from the pit lane at Gateway International Raceway. A couple hours ago, wasn't sure we were going to see that sight this evening, but the weather is broken, the track is dried, and just a few pace laps away from the green flag. NASCAR Busch Series Championship standings starting tonight's race. See, Kevin Harvick has a pretty sizable lead over Carl Edwards. He cannot lose that lead tonight. But Carl's still got plenty of races left this season to try and do something with Harvick. But boy, the way that 21 team has been, he has just been a rock so far this season.
You know how we talked about before the race that the winner of this race goes on to win the championship? If Kevin Harvick doesn't win tonight, he won't. I mean,
Most times he has gone on, yeah.
and Harvick's going to win the championship regardless of what happens to him tonight, my point.
Yeah, probably so. Here's starting lineup for tonight's race. Denny Hamlin on pole position. Qualifying held earlier today. And look at that, star-studded top 3 rows.
Yeah, you just have guys up here that run up front every week in the Busch Series. Sprinkle Stephen Wallace in there, who had a great qualifying effort.
Paul Menard, winner at Milwaukee back at the end of June, in row number 3.
Veterans David Green and Mike Wallace head up that next group of drivers.
Got all the Wallace brothers qualified in the top 10. Saw Stephen earlier. There's Mike in row 4, Kenny in the 10th spot.
Their adrenaline's pumping, man. One of the coolest victory lanes you would ever see is if Kenny Wallace pulled in there tonight in St. Louis, his hometown. He loves this town.
Oh, yeah. Reed Sorensen, defending winner of the race in row 7. He had a flat tire on his qualifying lap, which explains why he wasn't up in, say, the top 2 or 3.
Yeah, he was all day long and expects to be there again tonight. He won this race a year ago.
David Ruderman driving Mikey's car.
There's Erin Crocker. She's inside row 11. She always qualifies good. Be interesting to see how she's able to maintain when the green flag falls in the race.
J.J. Yaley has had a lot of top 10, top 5 finishes in a row before tonight. See if he can make one again from row 12. A little farther back on the starting grid.
There's the rookie, John Andretti.
Yeah. Rookie, Next Out Cup winner, but Busch Series rookie.
Indy 500 5th place winner.
Yeah. Stephen Light for Robert Yates Racing here. Heard feeling under the weather earlier.
Yeah, that is a rookie. He's 19 years old.
Yeah.
Never seen this place before, so
he'll make it go. Steve Park back in the Busch Series tonight. Pro 16, driving for Ted Marsh out of Connecticut. Justin Dirks, former NASCAR Midwest Series two-time champion. One of the development drivers for Robert Yates Racing, also in the field.
With the exception of Mark McFarland, all these cats you see here on the bottom of the list of cars attempting to qualify had to race in on time. They had to be one of the 43 fastest cars. There were 46 cars here. We sent a few home, and these guys were able to. Curtis Davis was the last guy to qualify in on time.
Check out the drivers who failed to qualify, as well as the handful who have to go, I say handful, 3, who have to go to the rear of the field. Shane Hall, Kevin Hamlin, Brad Teague failing to qualify. All 3 of those drivers, 2 of them making unapproved adjustments since qualifying. You're not allowed basically to touch your car. And David Odell missed driver introductions.
Brad Teague missed this race by a half of a hundredth of a second. That just shows you how, it just makes you crazy.
Yep. All right, getting ready for the start. Let's check down on pit road for a couple of more stories. Lindsay, go ahead.
Paul Menard in the number 11 car knows that confidence is key tonight. And tonight he's got plenty of it because he's driving the same car that he won his first Busch Series race with at Milwaukee. He starts 6th tonight, and he knows his car can go the distance. But starting 8 spots behind him is number 41, Reed Sorensen, the defending champion of this race. Reed Sorensen is hungry. He's looking for that win, and he says he's only building off the momentum of a 4th place finish in Martinsville. Ralph?
Lindsay, for years, NASCAR has always run leaded fuel in their race cars. The octane of leaded fuel is 112. For the next 4 races, NASCAR is going to try and experiment with unleaded fuel. The octane here is 98. Now, that's going to mean a few different things. The biggest concern is not necessarily how the fuel is going to perform in the car, but with leaded fuel, you have a little bit of oil in the fuel, and that helps with the viscosity. You hear that term a lot during commercials when they talk about oil. That helps lubricate the engines. Well, in unleaded fuel, that's not there. So your oil is going to be a huge key factor here tonight in battling with the heat buildup in your engines. You build up a lot of heat, you run the risk of blowing your engine. Parts start to break under wear and tear due to heat. That's going to be a big issue. Normally, a lot of manufacturers, a lot of race teams would just do a good deal to get a good extra bit of money and a new sticker and a few quarts of oil on their car. Now, you really have to know, do we have good oil in our race car, Alan?
And Michael, being a team owner, you know, the move to unleaded fuel is something NASCAR requested Sunoco to develop. As a team owner, did it cause you any real issues?
Not yet. I think everybody is real comfortable with what they've learned so far with the unleaded fuel. We know it's the way of the future. Maybe a little bit late getting there as it is, but I don't think you'll even know it. And that's what happens so many times with the people that participate in this sport. Major change from leaded fuel to unleaded, and you never even hear anything about it. It goes across smoothly.
And we're pretty well confident that aside of us just telling you it was unleaded fuel, we won't see anything on the racetrack tonight that makes its presence known. So on the final lap before we go green, 90, let's see, that was an hour, that was a while ago. Now we passed 90 minutes. It's going to be about 105 minutes late.
But these drivers are ready to go. And this track, Alan, it will be really slick for a few laps. These guys will really have to watch themselves, make sure they don't cause any wrecks early in the going. If they can get all sorted out for 3 or 4 laps, then maybe we can go green for a while.
200 laps on the 1.25-mile track to make up the 250-mile distance tonight. You saw and heard Michael talking about the drivers needing to be careful in these early laps. We'll see if any of these championship contenders, potential winners, wrinkle up their chance to win in the opening corner. A lot of times in this race, that first lap, turn 1, somebody gets in trouble.
And it's all because of the tightness of turn 1, Alan. When you race down into turn 1, it's a real sharp corner. It's a little bit rough getting in, and your car will jump out from underneath of you, and you will promise you had no indication. It just got out from under me in a hurry.
It's almost green flag time. Are you excited?
I can't wait. I love this racetrack. It does everything for me. It's got it all.
We are racing in St. Louis, finally. That's being brave.
Yeah, 3 wide off the first turn. What was that I said about being patient and taking it easy for a lap or two? Look at Hornaday. He doesn't know the definition to take it easy.
Hornaday in the 33. It was Stacy Compton in the 59 who went 3 wide around the outside.
That's what you show up for there, Alan. These cars streaming down that front straightaway underneath the lights with all the fans watching. It's just electric.
Denny Hamlin in the 20 leads lap 1 for second place. Carl Edwards in 60, pressured by Kevin Harvick in the 21.
Harvick in a backup car, digging right around the bottom of the racetrack. Qualified up front, the backup car is going to run up front in it too, I promise you that.
Now, why didn't Kevin Harvick have to go to the back, despite that he was in a backup car? This was not a car that was crashed after qualifying, and the damage to the car was significant enough in the Friday crash. NASCAR allowed the team to take out the backup car and qualify, and they get to hold their spot.
And now he's moving around Carl. How many people you think would like to have Kevin Harvick's backup car?
Not everybody in the field. Most of us, right?
He's driving around Carl. Here comes Kyle Busch right up on the back of Carl as well. So
there you go. There's your options. You saw Kyle move a little wide in turn 4.
And it'll be interesting if you see this race as it continues, people starting to choose those different options. Right now, the fast car is right down on the bottom of the racetrack.
Wowing about was the shower of sparks out of the bottom of Kevin Harvick's car when he mashed the brakes going into 1.
Race car drivers love it. When you hear that bottom scraping the ground, that's called letting the rough side drag. That makes you feel good. You know you got that car down on the road as close as it can get when it's sparking.
Isn't there a pretty fine line of balance, though, between getting it down on the road just enough and hitting too hard and upsetting the car?
Well, I like to explain to people all the time, it takes roughly 34 seconds to get around this track. If you bounce off the road a couple of times pretty hard, that lasts a second or so. You know, and the other amount of the time you're going around the track, you're as low as you can possibly be. You can hit the ground and it won't disrupt the car. If it starts bouncing you up out of the groove, then obviously you got to adjust for it. But a bounce off the ground every now and then is a good thing.
So Harvick running second behind Denny Hamlin. Harvick the winner, 4th win of the season. Last Saturday, Martinsville, Virginia. Just a little farther back here for the first double wide racing.
Yeah, you see, that's what's going on at this racetrack. You see a few guys up front, they got it all figured out. They're running single file. These guys are using the options that this racetrack gives them to try to work up through the field. That's the cool thing about a NASCAR race. If the front 4 or 5 guys get strung out, just turn your attention toward the back. There's racing somewhere on the racetrack.
Saw Reed Sorensen pick up a spot, moved up to 10th place. The driver with a 41 started back in 14th after the flat tire during qualifying. There's Jason Leffler in 38. Racing for 12th with Regan Smith in the 35. Smith slipping back just a little bit here.
You see Leffler's car bouncing off the ground. That's not the car bounced off the ground there. That's a little backfire out of the engine of the 35 car.
56 is Kevin Grubb.
Good to see him back, isn't it?
Yep.
And ever since he's returned, he's been fast. So picking right up where he left off.
Let's get back up front and talk something about the championship leader running second, Kevin Harvick. Ralph?
Alan, earlier today I spent some time chatting with Kevin, and I was talking to him about how he's been maturing as a race car driver, and he said the biggest change he has seen in years in himself came this season. He said, I've learned how to not worry about the little things. It's something that all of us on a day-to-day basis stress out over. How do we deal with the issues of the day? He's come to grips with it. He's figured out how to compartmentalize all that stuff, get rid of those issues, and just focus on the racing. I said, who helped you? Thing was Jeff Burton coming over to Richard Childress Racing. I watched him, I learned from him, and it's made a big difference, and my life's way better because of it. Lindsay?
Ralph, well, his life might also be relying on a little bit of luck, because listen to this. He's got something with the number 21. He's had his first Busch Series win on his 21st start. He now has 21 Busch Series wins to his name. He has 21 races under his belt in this series, and he's led 221 laps of 400 here at St. Louis. By the way, he drives car number 21, and he's in number 21, the pit stall.
Sounds like you ought to be playing blackjack, huh?
Sounds like you've been hanging around my brother.
Yeah.
Daryl, get some numbers going on you in a hurry.
Yeah. Harvick's got his hands full now after getting second place. Carl Edwards is pestering a little bit.
And, you know, that was just Carl just sampling the water, seeing what it's like to slide up, seeing if he could maybe not lose any ground to Kevin the first time he rolled up. Next time he slides up to the high side, he might see if he can gain a little bit. Just trying to figure out where the groove is, what his car will hold in the turns. Obviously, he's got a fast car. He's driven right up back on the back of Kevin, and they've driven away from 4th, 5th, and 6th. First three have broken away from the field.
Carl, the second place driver in the Busch Series Championship, coming in. We told you he's quite a bit behind Kevin Harvick as far as points are concerned. Carl with 3 wins of his own already this season. And we talked earlier, if you weren't with us right at the beginning of the broadcast, when it was we were filling time waiting for the track drying, Carl would flip out to win here in St. Louis.
Look at this gaggle.
Unintended.
Unaccepted.
Johnny Sauter 0-0. John Andretti 10.
We heard Johnny Sauter saying he didn't necessarily like this place. He's not running up to the standards that that team is used to running for sure. He's way back in the 25th spot, and they're generally a top 10 car. Races on the inside of Stephen Light. See how high Light went?
Options. It's that 99 car behind him in the mix there too, isn't it?
No,
it's a 98 car. Sorry, it's Aaron Crocker.
Aaron Crocker.
There's your race leader, Denny Hamlin. Winner last Sunday at Pocono in the NASCAR Nextel Cup Series. And already a couple of NASCAR Busch Series wins so far this year. We're racing in St. Louis. The fans are loving it. You know a movie's achieved cult status when the play-by-play analyst for a race are reciting lyrics from its theme song in the booth getting ready for this little announcement. Smokey and the Bandit Special Edition DVD in stores now.
That is good times right there.
Eastbound and down.
We're loaded up and trucking.
New second place runner here early in the NASCAR Busch Series race at St. Louis. Carl Edwards getting around Kevin Harvick. See, beginning to track in on leader Denny Hamlin. Pretty good race so far for Carl. Huh, Lindsay?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. He seems to be gaining on Denny Hamlin. In fact, he just got on the radio and he said, I'm feeling a little bit wobbly coming off the corners. His crew chief, Pierre Coutel, said, don't worry, Carl. Be smooth. Don't overdrive it. You'll run Denny Hamlin down in no time because your car is faster, guys.
Yes, he is. Closing in quickly. I'll bet there are just a few of these people in this grandstand from Missouri that'll be jumping up and down if he takes the lead.
He's going to take it, Alan. He's catching him a couple tenths a lap right now.
Yeah. Carl Edwards, 3 NASCAR Busch Series wins so far this year from Columbia, Missouri. Spent a lot of time racing on short tracks around here, and not all that long ago. It's only been a few years since Carl was a short track racer around Missouri, and now he's one of the top draws in NASCAR.
Well, there's a few of those stories. Look at Kyle Busch. He came in as a kid and has accomplished amazing things. Reed Sorensen, another cat that's just very young, and then Carl. He's not that young age, but he certainly busted onto the scene and has just done phenomenal things behind the wheel of a race car.
While he closes in on Denny Hamlin for the lead, let's check on the fastest mover in the field so far this race. And that's that 41 car, Reed Sorensen.
Well, he was fast all day long, Alan, and had a problem qualifying with one of his tires. Now he's back on track. Must have air in all his tires.
Yeah, that helps, huh? It does, Ralph.
Well, Alan, this is the same car that Reed Sorensen won this very same race with last year. However, in a lot of ways, it's not the same car. You see, the only part of the car that's the same is the center section. Shortly after racing here with it, they went on to Richmond, and he pretty much did a whole bunch of damage to it. Tore the front end off, tore the rear end off, and really it's the center section and the steering wheel. That's about all that's similar to this race car.
Well, you gotta like its karma, though.
Yeah, he sat in it and won.
Yep.
But, Alan, even if it was the same car from front to back, it'd have a different setup under it. So cars sometimes are just good cars no matter where you take them. And that must be one of those cars. Check out Wimmer.
Wimmer getting by Paul Menard, and Sorensen thought about trying to get a double there on the backstretch.
Sorensen is right.
So that's Wimmer up to 5th. Sorensen running 6th 1 year ago in this race. He led in the early part of the event. Did Reed Sorensen. and get shuffled back in the field by pit strategy. Then a great fight with Martin Truex in traffic. Sorensen taking the lead with 32 laps to go. Held on after a late caution and a final restart to score his first NASCAR Busch Series win. A big day.
Tender age of 19 or
19.
Oh, he's 20 now.
It's amazing, isn't it?
I ran third at Darlington in 93 to Kyle Busch and Brian Vickers. You add both their ages together, I was older than them still. That's when I realized things were getting a little bit crazy in the Busch Series.
You know, memory's jogging around a little bit. I think I misspoke there. That was his second win.
Was it?
In Nashville earlier that
That's
year.
right. He dominated at Nashville.
Won in his 11th start at Nashville, then his 27th here. 3 wide.
Stephen Wallace makes a wise decision and says, I can't see how being the outside guy in a 3-wide battle makes much sense.
One on the inside, 56 inside.
Here comes Rudeman.
56 only, 66 taking over 2.
That's 99.
Maybe he was looking at it upside down.
He might be confused.
Seeing the roof numbers backwards from the spotter stand, I guess. It's okay.
You can see Stephen's part. When he goes down in the corner, he pushes up high. He didn't choose. His choice wasn't to go up there. We talked earlier how you have to go where your car takes you at times. Now, you see, I'm a race car driver. I don't like to hear all that from my spotter.
Yeah.
I just like to hear clear or not clear.
Yeah.
But obviously, Stephen's different. He likes to hear all those words. Rudeman dives to the bottom of them. Good battle here, Alan.
And J.J. Yaley trying to follow through. How badly did Stephen Wallace have his hands full, Ralph?
Certainly does, Alan. But Michael, you know, Stephen told me when he was getting started in this deal that one of the advantages he had was that learning everything brand new makes it a lot easier when you don't know the difference. Sometimes what you don't know won't hurt you, is the old saying. Did you find that to be the same as you were coming up?
It still helps me today. That's the cool thing, Ralph, is the setups are changing. Everything is changing so quickly. If you're worried about what you did yesterday and what it took to win last year here, that doesn't relate anymore. It's all about what your team can learn from the time you get home to the shop on Monday till you load back up to go again Friday. It changes that quickly.
Up front, leaders in some traffic. Denny Hamlin putting a lap on Ron Young, the Georgia driver, the 71.
Carl took advantage of that traffic to close right up on Denny.
Thought he was going to try and dive underneath there. So it's just a matter of time.
Well, I say that, but every time Carl gets close, Denny looks like he's got about a 454 Gertie under the hood of that thing. He shoots down the straightaway, doesn't it?
Yeah.
A 454 Gertie is a big motor.
It's a big motor since they only run 358 cubic inches. Right. Yeah, okay.
People are thinking at home, what's he talking about?
They thought it was some special model of car.
Well, the special model of car he has is good horsepower down the straightaway in a car that he can drive around the bottom of the racetrack. And that's hard to overcome. But nowadays, Alan, if it gets late and going and then your teammates just knock them out of the way.
Yeah.
That's allowed.
It's kind of become the way it is, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean,
I remember if you had to run into Buddy Baker to knock him out of the way late in the race to win, he would have beat you up. There would be no other thing that would happen other than you'd get your butt beat.
he was a big man.
Yes,
He is
was
a big man. So Edwards pressuring Denny Hamlin, seeing if he can catch just enough of a slip to cut underneath him.
Look right up on his bumper going into the turn and through the center. But then Denny's able to accelerate away from him on the straightaway by 3 or 4 car lengths.
Denny Hamlin got, I want to say a long night, but a short night ahead of him as well. As soon as this race is over, he's jumping on an airplane, flying up to Oxford, Maine to run one of America's great short track races, the Oxford 250 tomorrow, but he's not going to get a lot of sleep between here and there.
You could never predict what a race car driver is going to do next. Why would he want to do that?
It's a race on a day off. Denny Hamlin out in front in St. Louis tonight. Check the Wendy's race menu. What's upcoming on TNT? NASCAR Busch Series Racing Indianapolis Raceway Park next Saturday, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. That's a great short track. Always a fun race.
Man, I won that race back in 1988, 89, excuse me. And I thought that I'd won the greatest short track race ever. You've always heard about IRP in that race, and it doesn't disappoint today. The car's running right out next to the wall. There must be 4 grooves on that racetrack, and generally, cats are taking advantage of every one of them.
Just part of a huge weekend of racing. The Brickyard 400 next Sunday, NBC, 1:30 Eastern Time, our Wendy's race menu. Pretty hot race for the lead.
That's Dale Jr.'s car there, that Make-A-Wish Chevy.
83, that's Shane Huffman. His 2006 Busch Series debut being passed by the top 2. More on the second place car, Lindsay.
Yeah, Carl Edwards just got on the radio and said his car is starting to feel a little bit stiff. But then again, he told me before this race that he absolutely loves this car. It gives him a lot of confidence because this is the same car that he won with at Nashville and also at Loudon. His best finish, by the way, at this track, 3rd last July. Alan?
All right, Lindsay, thanks. So Carl hanging right in there, although giving up a little ground these last couple laps to Denny Hamlin. How about Hamlin, Ralph?
Well, I just spoke to crew chief Dave Rogers about the 20 car, our race leader here. And
hang on, Ralph. Got one on the wall. Turn 3. J.J. Yaley.
Wow. Now, Alan, I don't know what happened to J.J., but he hit that wall, clobbered that wall, but the safer barrier has taken care of him. He's able to drive off in it. You know, years back, he would be welded to the wall over there.
This is crew chief Jason Ratliff looking on. Remember, Yaley talked to us in our pre-race coverage about not having an overwhelmingly great car tonight, and that they struggled with it in practice and seemed to make it worse each time they went out. And they've got some work to do on it now. Yaley started in 23rd place. Watch the top right of the screen, and you'll see this 18 car come into the frame.
Let's see if we can figure out what happens. Looks like he wrecked on the straightaway. And that was still up on the back straightaway, wasn't it, Alan?
All right, that's inconclusive. Let's get a look from Kenny Wallace's car. That's just the tail end of it. And that ugly mark on the wall.
It's kind of weird looking.
We'll have to see what we can find out about the cause of Yaley's crash.
Into the back straightaway over there, probably around what, 150 mile an hour? Yeah. And he's crashed into the wall hard. He's driving it around. I'm gonna bet you they'll pull the fenders off of that thing and it'll run a lot better than you think it would.
Be awfully hard to figure the way he hit Michael with the left side of that car that he didn't get hooked by somebody, huh?
It happened in a weird place. He was way out of the groove. The leaders are on pit road, Alan.
So here we go with the strategy calls.
38 laps. That's 3/4 through the fuel run, huh?
Yeah. Expect at least a couple pit stops tonight, if not more. And let's start with the second place runner's stop. Here's Lindsay.
Well, Carl Edwards is pulling into the pits, and we talked to you a little bit before about how he was feeling stiff. What they're going to do is make an air pressure adjustment to try to combat that. They're also giving Carl 4 new tires and fuel. Ralph?
Tim Sheets goes to work on the front of the number 20 car as this car has been struggling through the middle of the corner. It's been very tight. So they're going to put a 1/2 pound of air into the left rear and raise the track bar 1 round. This is chassis number 2043, which last one from the front at Darlington earlier this year, Alan.
Big scramble off pit road. Carl Edwards losing several spots on that exchange of stops. Reed Sorensen picking up a few, but no contest up front. Denny Hamlin's team hangs on to the lead on a set of caution flag pit stops. Under yellow, back for the restart in a minute on TNT. The Busch Silver Celebration 250 on TNT is brought to you by Super 8. See you all along the way. And by KFC's Fiery Buffalo Boneless Wings. It's no bones, all flavor, only at KFC. First caution of the night, a J.J. Yaley crash. Lindsay?
Yeah, well, J.J. Yaley is in his car down here in the garage. J.J. had reported that he just got terribly loose, went into the corner like you saw, and lost control. So right now his team is working very, very hard to get that car back in a position where they can get it back out on the track. J.J., as a matter of fact, like I said, is still sitting in the car. Alan?
5th place driver in points coming in. as we go green.
Now these restarts make me nervous here, Alan. See how far down the front straightaway Hamlin is before he accelerates right there? All these guys in the back will accordion up, and they've got to see them diving out. That's because they've misjudged who took off and who didn't. You'll see a wreck there every now and then, and it might happen tonight. Steve Wallace slid a little high there in turn 1. He's not having as much fun in the race as he did falling out. No. Car's falling to the back.
Had some shuffling up on pit road on that set of stops. You saw Denny Hamlin holding the lead. Reed Sorensen up to second. Clint Boyer up to third. Carl Edwards drops second to fourth. Scott Wimmers fifth in the 66th. Kevin Harvick shuffled all the way back to 8th place in the 21.
And someone that desperately needed that caution, Alan, is that 5 car. He was falling. He had fallen out of the top 10, and this car was really slow. It looked like he was terribly tight. Couldn't get his front tires to grip. Couldn't get it to turn off the corners. Ralph, what have they said about the 5? It looked like it was in bad shape.
Michael, it was. It was very tight. In fact, the tires were doing a lot of chattering. So you're exactly right in the fact that they needed to get in here and adjust on that 5. They've done that, and hopefully they're going to try to work that chatter out.
And I'm suspecting that when the tires was chattering, Kyle was chattering.
Yeah.
Probably wasn't G-rated.
A chattering tire is not a happy tire.
No, and a driver feeling that is just frustrated. You know, they practice that car all day long, and you'd like to think that right off the bat you'd be closer than you would handle better than that. You could run better than you are. And you're just frustrated, and you have to explain to your crew how bad it is, hoping that they can make the adjustments that'll fix it.
Kyle right now with a fairly nice recovery. He's running in 8th place. Kevin Harvick passed him there a minute ago for 7th in the 21.
Still doesn't look like it's fixed. Looks like to me it's still too tight. Use the curve there a little bit. You see that, Alan? A lot of times the drivers will do that. They'll hang that left front tire down on the curve, hoping to free the car up, make him back in, kick out, and drive off the corner straighter.
Harvick started up front, Ralph, dropped back a little bit. Now he's starting to pick his way back toward the front. What's the 21 team saying?
Alan, the conversation, as you heard at the beginning of the race show tonight, was all about building adjustability into your car. For Kevin Harvick, they put a rubber into the left rear. Again, working on that car, trying to get the setup right to make it get through these corners. Because as we've heard everybody talking about, it's not so much the entry to the corner here, Michael, but being able to get off. That's where you're going to pass everybody.
Well, the straightaways around for so long that if you push off the turn, you give away all your momentum. And a guy that's handling well off the turn, he can have 20 less horsepower than you, but he gets that gas down, he uses what horsepower he's got, and he can drive up beside you. Exiting the turn is the most important thing to have your car do well here, and it's the hardest thing to accomplish.
And it explains why the 21 lost a few spots on pit road, because they took the time to put that spring rubber into the car on the stop while the tire was off.
There's Harvick. See, you know, we're used to seeing these front ends sealed out, and like I said, here it's all about mechanical grip, trying to get those tires to bite in the road by using the setup to do it. If we're at Chicago or some of these big race tracks, Indianapolis, like we'll see next week, you're more concerned about your aero package. You want your thing sealed to your car sealed to the road. Harvick's down on that curving again, like we saw earlier. He's down on the curving, trying to use it to help his car turn, trying to get up under Paul Menard. He's got a fast car. He got around the 5 car, and he's driven right up to the 11, so he'll be a factor before it's over. Here he's working the gas.
Yeah, just had to wait just for a second.
A lot of times if you use that curve to make your car turn and you hit the gas too hard, it'll spin out in a heartbeat. Let's listen to him use his gas. Oh, sorry. I thought he was going to use his gas again to get that thing turned. Listen. Hear him? And you see Menard getting a little bit loose off the corner. Got to give Kevin a chance to make a run on him.
Menard gives.
Yes, he did.
So Harvick up to 6th place, and Menard back to 7th. Now, I talked with Kevin and a couple of the other drivers in the garage earlier today, Michael, about the NASCAR Busch Series championship system. Right now, Kevin is a runaway point leader, but they don't use the chase system in the Busch Series yet like they do in the Nextel Cup Series. I asked Kevin, would you like to see the chase in the Busch Series?
I think all 3 series should have a chase format, you know, to make all the series as exciting as the Cup Series. You know, I think, you know, it would give a lot of guys that don't get going at the beginning of the year, especially in the trucks and the Busch Series, a chance to go after the championship, and I think would make the other two series equally as exciting as the Cup Series.
He's just glad they're thinking about doing it next year, because right now he doesn't want that to happen.
Yeah, exactly.
He's got this championship won. We're just halfway through the season.
348-point lead starting the night.
And the way he competes and how fast his car is, all he has to do is show up.
Things tight up front. Reed Sorensen hanging right there with Denny Hamlin since this restart.
Reed's not let Denny get away at all. In just a lap or so, though, they caught some traffic. All 5 of the cars up front were bumper to bumper. They've separated a little bit now as they work through traffic.
Carl Edwards has moved into 3rd, getting around Clint Boyer on this lap. So the 60 car up to 3rd. Boyer back to 4th. That's Scott Wimmer running 5th. Going on behind Denny Hamlin. The race leader, he's led all of the laps so far tonight. And the Busch Silver Celebration at 250. Easy for me to say. I got you. NASCAR Race Day gets your engines revving right before the race begins. Unfiltered news, analysis, and interviews live from the track on Speed. And we are live on TNT at Gateway International Raceway outside of St. Louis. After a rain delay, the NASCAR Busch Series underway. And here's a guy who appears to be flying. Johnny Sauter started this race in 30th spot. And Mike, right now, he's racing Mike Wallace for 11th.
Remember what we said earlier in the race? He said he didn't like this track. And it looked like he wasn't running well at all. And now, all of a sudden, Lindsay, he's got that thing turned on.
Yeah, he does, and he wants to thank his crew for that, because this crew is gelled so well together. You know, Team Yellow is what they call them, and the pit crew has won the Checkers Rally's Pit Challenge 9 times, and that includes the past 3 races. So now that last pit stop they just had, they gained 6 spots in the pits. They're steadily progressing, and they think they can get Johnny up even further.
Right now, he's solidly up into the top 15, and moving forward as we check speeds at the line, Kevin Harvick fastest that last lap.
That adjustment is paying off. And you know, it's good to make that adjustment on your first stop, Alan, because then you can make up that track position. If he comes in late in the race and tries to do that, you don't have time to make it up.
Harvick gave up some positions on the stop by taking the time to put the spring rubber in. As we continue to watch this race for 11th spot, let's check out up front. All of a sudden, while Denny Hamlin has eased away from Reed Sorensen, now there's a race for 2nd and 3rd. As Carl Edwards has come back into the picture.
Flares up to the high side, then down to the bottom. He's caught Reed, and now he's got to try to figure out how to get around him. We saw him catch Denny earlier in the race, and it looked like he was better through the corner, but then Denny would drive away from him on the straightaway. Ralph, what's Reed saying? Has he got a good car? Does he think he can go up there and get some of Denny Hamlin?
You know, Michael, right now, he's actually not saying anything. I just spoke to crew chief Brian Patty, and everybody expected with the cooler temperatures after the rain that this racetrack, being a little bit greener, would be a little bit tighter as the night got going. And that's exactly what the situation was, especially for Reed Sorensen in the middle of the corner. That caution due to J.J. Yaley gave them the opportunity to come in and pit. They made an air pressure adjustment, put on 4 fresh tires, and apparently things are really good. He's running fast, and he's not saying anything on the radio.
You know, people talk about the racetrack changing, the conditions on the track change, and it affects the handling of the car. It's not so much that the track changed, but how the car reacts to the racetrack. In this case, Reed Sorensen's car gripping the track differently than it did before the rain during practice.
I wished I could explain to you how many adjustments you can make on one of these cars. Yeah. I mean, a pound of air pressure out of one of your tires can make it handle differently. So when the conditions change, all those variables have to line up in order to be able to run like this man is right now. It all has to work together, and some guys just don't have it working right now.
I love to describe race cars to people that maybe are new to racing in general as Roman science projects. Think about that. They're just experiments of physics, geometry, all that kind of thing.
Rudiman had a terrible pit stop. He came in the pits running 14th or 15th, and he fell all the way back to 26th after his pit stop. But he has raced that thing back up to the 16th spot. Got a pretty good car there.
And moving up.
Looked like they had some trouble on the left side tires when they tried to change them. I don't know what went wrong. Maybe it was a rubber or adjustment on the chassis that took the extra time. But he seems to be running better than he was earlier, just a long pit stop.
You got to follow up on that. You didn't have an eye on that car out the window during the pit
stops, did you?
Yes, because it was the only one left on pit road when everybody else left.
Oh, okay.
So something didn't go right for him, but you can see it looks a little free right there. That's what a driver wants at this racetrack. He's got the thing freed up, steering with the rear end off the corner, and in the long run, that'll pay off.
We'll put our best man on the job finding out what happened there.
What's Ralph found out?
There you go.
It's amazing you thought that was me, Michael, but I'll take it. There was 4 times that they put on the car, and they did have the problem with the left front on the pit stop. They freed up the car for the exit, which is exactly what you guys are predicting they did, and they did that by taking a half pound of air out of the left front. And that air pressure adjustment is what's allowed Ruderman to make his way up to the wetland front.
Air pressure adjustment you were talking about before.
That's how you adjust these cars these days, Alan. You have to have your setup right when the race starts. You got to have your springs and your track bar and everything the way it needs to be, and then you got to be that close. So a pound of air here or there will make a car drive like Carl just drove around Reed.
Kind of looked like Reed saw that coming and waved him by with that pull over to the inside. But Carl Edwards now back up to second, Lindsay.
Carl Edwards is extremely happy with this car, and I can imagine why, but he said that he's starting to have a hard time getting it to turn through the corners of 3 and 4. However, you just saw him gain that spot on Reed, and also his crew had been a little bit disappointed in that last stop that we saw on lap 37. They took a little bit longer than everybody in this crew wanted it to take, but obviously they've gotten control of the problem right now. We'll keep you posted, though, as far as him feeling tight in the corners.
You know, it's funny, Alan, before the race we said everybody's going to be tight. And people at home probably thinking, well, why are they doing that? They should have known that. They could have fixed it. That just shows you how tough this job is and how hard it is to get a car to drive like our leader, Denny Hamlin, is.
I tell you what, they look like they have improved this car with the adjustments they made at the pit stop, because he has driven away from second place by nearly a second and a half. Denny Hamlin out in front in St. Louis. Back live, Gateway International Raceway near St. Louis on TNT, the NASCAR Busch Series at lap 72 of 200. You're looking at Reed Sorensen now struggling to hold on to 4th place with Scott Wimmer pressuring him from behind. Clint Boyer in the 2 car went by him a minute ago, and things got a little interesting for a second.
When a car goes away in such a hurry, Alan, when it isn't handling right, Reed got all over the place exiting turn 4. Clint rode up on him and maybe bumped him a little bit.
Reed had his hands full there trying to control that car off the corner.
But you see Reed lays over because he knows his car isn't right now. We see a little bit of smoke off the 66, probably just a tire rev.
We really haven't talked about Scott Wimmer in that 66 much, but very solid race so far. 5th position, Ralph.
This is another one of those cars where there's not a lot of talking going on, Alan. Scott Wimmer right now is pretty silent on the radio, which usually means things are going pretty good inside the cockpit. He was tied off and loose in before the caution. They made an air pressure adjustment. There's that air pressure adjustment again. Slapped 4 new tires on it, and he's going right towards the front.
Wimmer driving for Bruco Racing. Newt Moore, the crew chief. This car that Greg Dibble drove a lot last year.
I drove it at Nashville earlier this season and got a top 10 finish, and I love working with Newt Moore. He's just a racer guy. Yes. Newt and I raced each other back in 1981 in Owensboro, Kentucky. That's how far our relationship goes back. He had a mini stock car and I had one, and we raced the heck out of one another. And he's been hard at racing ever since then.
Wimmer kind of hit that curve. It looked like it had a little bobble up off the corner.
That curve will get your attention.
I guarantee it got his there a second ago. Paul Menard racing Johnny Sauter for 11th and 12th places. Menard slipping back from 6th starting spot. Ralph?
The problem with the 11 is Paul Menard is starting to feel like the motor's laying down. And as we've talked about, there's very long straightaways here at Gateway. So if your motor's laying down, you've got a real problem on your hand. Now, if you want to compound that, it's starting to spit liquids out the engine. So, guys, I know you said earlier that you didn't think that heat buildup in these motors due to the lack of oil in this unleaded fuel was going to be an issue. But I'm telling you, everybody in the garage area says they're not so sure about that and that heat could be a real problem. And if we start seeing engine problems, we might be talking more about it as the night goes on.
We'll find out.
Could be a story. I can't see it. I think these teams will adapt and adjust to it, run it over the dyno, understand what it does, and be ready for tonight.
The debut of unleaded racing fuel in NASCAR big-time racing tonight here in St. Louis. Lindsay?
Yeah, you guys asked what happened happened on that pit stop for David Rudiman. I just talked to his crew chief, and he said the lug nuts came off. They popped off basically on the left front tire. So, you know, they fixed the car, they fixed the issue, and hopefully they can gain position from there.
For the folks at home, the teams glue the lug nuts to the wheel. And the lug nut, the lug stud itself is tapered, so when you put the wheel up on there, the nuts are already on the wheel, and you just hit them with the gun. Sometimes you put the wheel up there a little bit crooked, or maybe they didn't get glued properly. Some will pop off. It looked like maybe multiple. We see one pop off a lot. Looked like maybe multiple ones popped off on that in that case.
There's Denny Hamlin, the leader, trying to find his way through side-by-side lap cars, and Carl Edwards coming into the picture in a hurry.
I bet you Carl's grinning. He's got a car he can win a race in his hometown with. That's a good time right there.
Yeah.
That's 83 of Dale Jr.'s car of Huffman. He's already got one free pass. He's going to have to get lucky to grab another one here and get back on the lead lap.
Denny Hamlin had a big lead over Carl Edwards a little while ago. That's kind of evaporated. Ralph, you saying anything?
Yeah, it did evaporate, Alan. And when they first put these 4 new tires on the car, it was a little bit loose, and he was complaining about that. As this run started to develop, the car started to turn around pretty good. However, he really wants more bite coming off the corner. And as we've talked about throughout this race, getting off the corner is the key, and that's probably where the rest of the competition, especially Carl Edwards, is making up the ground.
When you dive down into the corner, you got to get your car turning in the center, and then once you accomplish that, you get your car turning in the center, you mat the gas. Well, then if it pushes off, or if you can't get it to turn off, you lose all that momentum. So again, the key to running well here is having a car you can drive up off the turn wide open. Use all that power you got under the hood.
Denny Hamlin told me his win at Darlington validated for himself and his team that they could win on the big oval tracks. He's out in front in St. Louis tonight. Follow your favorite driver with real-time telemetry and in-car audio. It's Track Pass from NASCAR.com. Subscribe today and get it at a discounted price. Learn more about Track Pass at NASCAR.com.
That Track Pass is fun.
Yeah.
You get right in on what's happening.
Something I've been watching here for a little while. You see all this rubber building up on the top of the racetrack. I've been noticed that's not all that unusual, but I've been just seeing it fly off the cars in the corners, Michael, during green flag action. Is that something a driver gets concerned about?
Not really. We've seen it so much, Alan. Over the years, you had soft tires, and you go to hard tires, and it shaves off in different forms and fashion. Sometimes a hunk of rubber will fly out and hit you in the windshield. You think you've been shot. I mean, it just makes that much noise, but it really isn't a factor. You understand that that's part of the game. When it is a concern is when you start running that higher line and you get right out there next to where that rubber lays. You know, if you slip over the edge, get just half a tire in it, your car is liable to crash because of that rubble of the tires up there.
Heard about Paul Menard thinking he maybe had some developing problems under the hood. I guess they have developed, huh, Ralph?
They sure have. The hood is up on the number 11. The crew is scrambling back and forth over the wall. They were focusing early on in the carburetor area of the car. Not sure what the problem is yet. They haven't said anything. The crew guys that went over the wall are looking around, working on belts, but I'm not hearing anything exactly as to what the problem is. They seem to be checking just to make sure everything is tightened up. They're going to put the hood back, and it looks like they're sending it back out. But they originally were talking about the carburetor. That was the area they focused on first. Back out to Paul Menard.
7th place driver in points in trouble here in St. Louis. You see the leaders in some heavy lap traffic. Aaron Crocker in 98, Kenny Wallace in 22, 25th and 24th place drivers going a lap down.
This isn't at all how Kenny Wallace envisioned this night going. He loves this track, he loves this town, and he's just not competitive.
He started in 10th.
He's also was the 10th place driver in points coming into tonight's race, and he's fallen out of the top 10. So costly night for Kenny so far. Maybe he can rebound.
Got a long way to go in this one, not quite to halfway. We know how many twists and turns these races take.
I mean, just another 20 laps or so, we're talking about green flag pit stops. And that always gets things confusing. Did you see that move? He lost a lot of momentum, though. Watch Carl come firing down the middle.
That was Carl Long in the 23 that Hamlin kind of had some indecision about which way to go around.
There's Stephen Wallace. We've said all night long he can't do anything with that car. It just won't stay low for him. You can hear him way off the gas exiting the corner there.
Let's see how much ground he gave up to Hamlin.
That's Kenny and Steve running 22nd and 23rd, and Mike Wallace is up in the top 10, running 9th right now. So
60 car inside. Still there, clear behind him.
see,
Clear behind him, clear by 40 Kenny. Out on your corner.
out into the wall.
Right inside. Keep it up there. It's clear, clear. 2 more coming. Inside.
Oh, see, hit it again. He got up in that rubber, Alan, we were talking about it. You saw it flying off his tires as he went high. This could bring a caution out.
Has not yet. Still under green. And Steven now with some right side damage and trying to find out. Oh, he's going to hit with those marbles again.
You see, that was a case where he should have just taken that blow and backed off and got it back down out of the road. He tried to get that thing going again and just was up out of the groove and got in that rubber and hit the wall.
So Stephen Wallace will head for pit lane and get some work done on the car owned by his father, Rusty. Up front, no change, top 2. Still Carl Edwards chasing after Denny Hamlin. Hamlin has led all of the laps in tonight's race so far. We're just about to halfway here at Gateway International Raceway. Race to your mailbox and find your blue Valpak envelope. It's full of savings and a chance to win a VIP grandstand getaway. Valpak, there's something in it for you. TNT Live, Gateway International Raceway outside of St. Louis. Alan Bestwick with Michael Waltrip tonight. Ralph Shaheen and Lindsey Zarniak on pit road. You're watching Kevin Harvick in 6th place, the 21, the Busch Series championship leader, try and take 5th from Reed Sorensen.
And he did. There's a big gap behind those 2 cars, Alan. Reed, knowing that Kevin was faster, just let him roll by right there, not to lose any more ground to the people behind him. That's a smart move. That's the way you got to race early in the race or midway through the race.
Are you seeing that in your mirror, or are you getting that information from your spotter?
Both. A little bit of both. You know what's going on around you. That's your job. And then your spotter's always chiming in to give you his 2 cents worth, too.
Kevin Harvick started this race in 3rd position, fell back, took some extra time on the first set of pit stops to put a spring rubber into that car, now trying to make his way back toward the front. Stephen Wallace has made his way on and off pit road, what, 3 times now, Ralph?
It's actually, but he's getting ready to make his 3rd. There is definitely right front damage to the car. He said to the crew that the car went straight to the wall. He felt like something broke in the car. When he brought the car back around, all 4 tires were completely inflated, and he said he still swears that something broke in the car. At this point in time, they do know that they have a lot of damage to the suspension pieces on the right front of the car. So they're going to bring it back in here and try to straighten this car out. And the biggest thing is the crew chief is just trying to calm him down and get his head back and focused.
Stephen Wallace has had an adventurous day so far. The 18-year-old son of the former NASCAR champion Rusty in not Stephen's hometown, because he was born and raised in North Carolina after Rusty and Shannon moved there, but in the family's hometown has had a tough night.
You see, Alan, he just got that thing out of the groove there off turn 4, and I'm sure it felt just like that something broke, because once it gets up in the marbles, it won't turn at all.
And again,
I bet you just assumed to quit showing that.
Probably.
But this is all part of the learning curve. What you want, I talked to Rusty last night. He wants Steven to be fast, and he is. Everywhere he goes, he's fast. He's going to run into stuff. He's going to make mistakes, but he'll learn from it. You can't teach someone to go fast. You can just teach them how to race smarter.
Steven right now 5 laps down in 35th place after the pit stops for repairs. No change up front. Denny Hamlin. Actually, I say no change. He's moved away from Carl Edwards now. And this is kind of a repeat of what we saw in the first green flag run of the race, Michael. Carl closed in, and then later in the run, Denny got away.
And I think that Carl obviously realizes that too. He sees Denny, he sees where he's better than Denny and Denny better than him, and he'll work on his car because that. Denny might not realize it as much as Carl does because he's watching him get away. Carl will be more inspired to do something to his car to try to beat Denny than Denny will be trying to fend off Carl, because right now it's all working. But that's what happens sometimes. The guy behind you works on his car, you're afraid to do much to yours, and all of a sudden that guy gets better than you.
J.J. Yaley coming back onto the track after repairs in the garage from his bounce off the wall back at lap number 39. Only caution of the race so far. And the pit window's open.
Yeah, and the green flag pit stops have begun. The 56 car of Kevin Grubb was running the 11th spot. He came to pit road. We saw Bernie Lamar. He's been on pit road. So those guys particularly are saying, okay, let's go through this caution, this pit window, this pit cycle without the caution flag flying. It'll ruin your night if you hit pit road and then the caution falls because the leader hasn't pitted yet. He'll put you a couple laps down.
And it's the big risk right now for Denny Hamlin if he has to pit short of what some of the other guys do to get on the pits, have a caution come out, trap him a lap down with a car that's this strong.
Well, the 4th and 5th place cars, 4th and 6th place cars, excuse me, have hit pit road. So the leaders are beginning to hit pit road. There's Boyer
in the 2 car. And he's going to slide down toward the turn 1 end of pit road. Ralph Shaheen.
Alan, we're hustling to get there. We didn't know he was coming just yet. He's sliding into his pit box. Again, the thing is that everybody's working on the adjustments to their race cars right now. And the majority of that is being done through air pressures. We see a bit of a wedge adjustment to the back of the car. They change 4 tires and fill them up with fuel. And they'll be sending him back out. So again, working on the adjustments to these race cars, Lindsay, and it continues.
Ralph, the last time we told you about Carl Edwards, he was saying it was a little bit stiff between 3 and 4. They just brought his car in. They are going to make a chassis adjustment to try to loosen him up a little bit. They gave him 4 fresh tires and sent him on his way.
So that was the 2nd place car on pit road. John Wood has also been on and off pit road for a stop. We continue to watch the leader, Denny Hamlin, to see when he makes the move to pit road. Kevin Harvick on that access road inside turns 3 and 4 that you have to use to get onto the pit lane here.
And people were worried about that earlier when it was raining. They didn't want to have to hit that pit road access, that access road when it was wet. And obviously it's dried out. You still have to be real careful, Alan. It's flat down there.
Lindsay? Kevin Harvick's pit stop ongoing. You see 4 tire change here for the 21 car.
Watch these guys too. Now this is a great pit crew. Look how fast they make this pit stop. Under 15 seconds. They're right at 16 seconds.
John Andretti leaving pit road right behind Kevin Harvick. Waiting for the leader, Denny Hamlin. And here he is. Just hit that access road inside of turn 3.
And a lot of the leaders just breathed the collective sigh of relief.
That's going to put Scott Wimmer into the race lead. Mike Wallace, David Green, Kyle Busch also have not pitted. As Denny Hamlin comes in for a stop at lap number 108. He's pitted all the way down the turn 1 end of pit road. Ralph?
Now remember, Alan, this is going to carry over to next week at Indianapolis Raceway Park, and that pit stop at the far end down towards turn 1 will be a huge advantage there. A good advantage here, but they're going to make some adjustments to this car through air pressure and through the track bar. They're going to go a half hand out of the right rear and a turn and a half on the track bar and get this 20 going the way that they want this car to handle. Of course, again, it's just about making the adjustment all the way through this way, so he can continue to hold up Carl Edwards.
A forever stop. 22nd pit stop for the race leader, so let's see how he comes out in relation to some of the other guys who were front runners, like Carl Edwards. There's Scott Wimmer, who's currently the race leader, but has not pitted yet. Ralph?
The interesting thing about this round of pit stops, if you remember the first round, everybody just made air pressure adjustments. Here we're seeing air pressure adjustments, and we're also seeing a lot of adjustments to track bars, which is a much different approach.
And a caution flag is out. Stephen Light is in trouble. He is up against the turn 3 retaining wall, and the second yellow flag of the race comes out when not quite everyone had made green flag pit stops.
Well, a lot of the leaders will be in good shape because they were ahead of the 66 car when they made their pit stop, so they came out still on the lead lap. The guys that'll pay the price were the cats that were running 8th, 9th, 10th that made their pit stops. They will be a lap down.
Watch Scott Wimmer getting ready to come on to pit road when Stephen Light crashes and the caution comes out. Watch the 66.
I'm on. And he's just going to shoot around the access road and avoid coming on the pit road. Now he'll catch a penalty for that. He crossed over the commitment line, but the penalty is nothing compared to what it would be like if he had to come down pit road. He lost all his track position. But he's one of only, what, 6-8 cars on the lead lap?
Right now. All right, let's take a break. We'll come back, reset the scoring for you, and see how all this is going to shake out as a caution comes out in the middle of green flag pit stops at St. Louis. Back at Gateway International Raceway, Stephen Light climbing from his car. Remember, we heard from him earlier on the pre-race that he wasn't feeling all that well at the start of the race, but is okay after the impact with the turn 3 wall. Boy, how quickly fates change in this business, don't they?
What about Kenny Wallace? He was struggling. We were saying how disappointed he was. Now there's going to be 8 cars on the lead lap, led by that cat.
And Kenny Wallace is going to be one of them.
And Kenny Wallace is right back in the game.
Here's what's happened. Most everybody made green flag pit stops except about 5 cars. When the caution came out, 2 of the guys who had stopped because of where their track position was relative to Scott Wimmers, who was the leader at the time, were on the lead lap. So now those 7 cars, plus a free pass car, a lucky dog car, which was Clint Boyer, are going to be the only 8 on the lead lap. It'll be Wimmer, David Green, Carl Edwards, David Ruderman, Denny Hamlin, Mike Wallace, Kenny Wallace, and Clint Boyer, the only guys on the lead lap when we go racing. Have a need for speed? Win big in the Zantac Need for Speed Instant Win Game. Win a 2007 Ford Mustang. A trip for 2 to Talladega Superspeedway and get to meet AmeriQuest Racing driver Greg Biffle. The Zantac Need for Speed Instant Win Game. Look for specially marked packages for details.
Zantac, doesn't that get you not to have indigestion anymore?
Believe so.
Or is it allergies? I should have not said that, should I? We'll find out.
Calling Dr. Waltrip. Dr. Waltrip. He's just prescribed a headache for the sales department. Coming back to St. Louis for the restart after this. Just back under the green flag. The words I keep thinking of here, potential mess for the leader, Carl Edwards.
Now, I got some good news for you and some bad news for you, Carl. You finally got the lead. There's 16 cars on the tail end of the lead lap ahead of you, or fighting to get a lap back ahead of you. This is potential for disaster. Look at Carl. He's all up in the middle of a bunch of traffic, and there's Denny Hamlin breathing all over the back of him.
That's 4 in the lead, the 20 and the 60 in the middle of this pack. If you're new to NASCAR and want to know how they got back there, they stayed on the racetrack. The guys who had not pitted yet, caution came out, pace car gets in front of the leader, bottles up the field. The front guys that had not stopped went to pit road. They come back out at the tail end of the line. Carl Edwards gets in line behind all these other guys who also did not pit. They stay out to try and be in front of the leader. They're basically a mile and a quarter behind him, but they call that tail end of the lead lap.
And
makes a big mess.
It makes a great story, though. Carl wanting that lead so bad, he finally gets it, but he's not ahead.
That's got to be depressing. Lindsay, what's he saying?
Alan and Michael, his crew chief just got on the radio and was like, hey, Carl, this is an absolute mess. So they're right there. They know this could be possible catastrophe, but hopefully they're hoping that Carl has enough gusto to stick with it and get through this.
Well, he doesn't have any choice. It's not about gusto, it's about winning. And this is some of the twists and turns we talked about before the race started, Alan. This is what you got to deal with to win a race. This series is so intensely competitive, you don't know what set of circumstances you're going to face between the start and the finish to get the win.
Look at Hamlin looking 3 wide for the race lead. Edwards bouncing off of Stacy Compton in the 59. That's the race leader in the middle of all this traffic. And now Hamlin going to try and get the top spot away.
And Compton has no plan to let anybody go. He's going to run those guys hard to stay on the tail end of the lead lap.
Edwards looking to come back underneath.
And Stacy Compton right in the middle of all this stuff.
Gotta love this.
And look lurking in third. There's Wimmer.
So Denny Hamlin back to the point. Remember, the long green flag pit stop is what put Hamlin behind Carl Edwards on the racetrack.
Man, look at the turn that Compton made there. He drove away from Denny exiting turn 2. Scott Wimmer's driven right up on the back of the lead, too.
Tell you what, nice job tonight by that 66 team.
You got that right.
They have not had the kind of season this year that they had last year when it seemed like they were in contention to win every race with Greg Biffle. But nice job tonight. And good to see for Scott Wimmer, who, you know, told me a week ago, wow, he and Stacy Compton bought him out.
That's when you're driving down in that corner and hitting those brakes hard. He's trying his best to stay up beside the 20 car.
How about Wimmer, Ralph?
Obviously, they're ecstatic with their performance so far tonight with the 66. And their last pit stop, they took 4 tires and went 1 round down on the track bar, continuing to dial that car in. And every time you make those guesses, those assessments, they keep going in the right direction. This car's fast tonight.
Little bump.
Oh, look at Compton. Man, I'm liking what I'm seeing out of him. He's saying, you're not getting my lap away from me, boys. I don't care what you got going on back there.
And Edwards trying to take advantage to muscle inside of Denny Hamlin for the race lead.
And look how it's paying off for Stacy. He's able to drive up to John Andretti and getting on the outside of John Andretti, putting another car between he and the leaders.
Compton fighting to stay on the lead lap. So Hamlin settles back in the lead. Gonna look to the outside of Andretti. Was that the right lane choice?
How do you feel about 3 wide there? Now let's give it a whirl.
John Andretti in the 10 is 2 laps down now that the leaders have gone by him. So he was not one of those guys fighting to stay on the end of the lead lap.
But as long as you're 1 lap down, Alan, you got a shot. You got a shot for a good finish because you can hang in there, get a free pass, get back on the lead lap. Once you go 2 down, your night's over. You're not going to get a good finish 2 down.
So Denny Hamlin back out in front.
There's his buddy Stacy Compton.
Another lap down. And now the race for Compton, if the leader gets by him, is to stay in front of the 47 of John Wood, which would be the first car 1 lap down and get him the chance to get the lucky dog on the next caution, a free pass around the pace car.
The only problem is Hamlin will go up there and eat up the guy that's on the tail of the lead lap, and that'll put Stacy the second car lap down. So that's why Stacy was so desperate to keep Hamlin behind him, not just to stay on the lead lap, but to preserve him getting a lap back. He knows when Denny goes around him, there's a pretty good chance he's going to go up there and go around some more people.
The race to the lead is settled down. Lindsay is with a driver who was involved in the incident that brought out that last caution.
Stephen Light just came out of the care center. He's been evaluated and released. Stephen, what happened out there?
Just lost our brakes. For about 20, 30 laps, I had a small vibration in the right front. And after our pit stop, it started acting real funny on the racetrack. Car was moving around a lot in the corners. And I thought maybe I had a tire going down. And we probably were going to pit within the next 5 laps, even though we just pitted because we weren't sure what was wrong. And when I went into 3, I pushed the brakes. I heard it popping right front and had no brakes. The pedal went to the floor and just couldn't. At that point, I was just along for the ride.
Okay, and you had complained about not feeling well before this race. Did that have any impact on you out there?
No, I mean, you know, I was sick. I mean, I didn't feel too good, but I kind of put it in the back of my head. I was just out there working as hard as I could, trying to get a good finish from these guys. I feel really bad. I mean, this team's worked so hard. City Financial team's doing an awesome job. And just one of them things.
Stephen Light is done for the evening. Alan?
But has a big week to look forward to as he tries to qualify for the Brickyard 400, the Allstate 400 at the Brickyard, at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway this coming week. Denny Hamlin dominating tonight so far, but Carl Edwards hanging right with him. The Busch Silver Celebration 250 on TNT is brought to you by Carfax. Never buy a used car without Carfax. Get a Carfax vehicle history report. Ask your dealer or go to Carfax.com. And by Subway Restaurants. Subway, drive hard, eat fresh. Trinity, good race for the lead here at Gateway International Raceway. Denny Hamlin in 20, Carl Edwards in 60. They've been the 2 dominant drivers in the race. Only 2 that have led, as a matter of fact. But Hamlin has done most of the leading. Carl's got to be kind of frustrated at looking at the back bumper of that red 20.
Can't do anything. Get right on him, but he can't do anything with them. They catch cars in traffic, and Carl gets a run on him, but then Denny's just stronger. Look at Carl's car down that left front, right in the center of the turn. We've seen that all night long. He just beats Denny through the center. Denny beats him off and down the straightaway.
Hamlin has led 121 of 130 laps so far tonight.
You know, that's a dominant performance, but when NASCAR, when you dominate, he's dominating by a car lead. You know, he makes one slip and Carl Edwards is fine. That's how tight competition is, and that's what's so fun about our sport. Twists and turns like we saw on the restart. Guys on the lead lap, guys a lap down. And then he just continuing to lead laps, but he's not able to drive away from Carl.
They put Stacy Compton back 1 lap down. Now they put Todd Cleaver back 1 lap down. The 0-1 car is Jay Sauter. He is one of those tail end of the lead lap guys from the restart that if they overtake him, then becomes the first car 1 lap down.
And that's significant. Being the first car lap down with a caution slide, you get the sprint pass, you get the drive time to make up the lap. And so you want to be that guy. That's who you want to be if you're a lap down.
Checking out speeds at the line here. I don't expect the top 2 to be the fastest speeds because they're in such heavy traffic. Whoa, Hamlin! And Edwards is going to dive underneath and take the lead. Wow. Hamlin had his hands full in the middle of that corner, and it looked like he bobbled for a minute. Edwards got that center of the corner run and just nipped the back bumper. And by the time Hamlin got it straightened out, he was back in 2nd place.
That was crazy. Did Carl just run into him? What happened, Alan? Could you tell?
I thought Hamlin wiggled first, and Carl got him while he was wiggling.
I would almost bet that's what happened, because if Carl had a turn, I bet he wouldn't have picked the position. You know? Let's see. He's down under a lap car. That's going to hurt his momentum. And Carl hits him. And then he hits him again. And then it passes him. What do you think about that?
I think I want to see that one more time.
I think it'll look exactly the same. Carl's at home, man.
He's out front. Carl Edwards, the Missouri boy, now leading. Let's see if he can hold it till the checkers. TNT Sports live at Gateway International Raceway in St. Louis with the NASCAR Busch Series in a 250-mile race. A race delayed over an hour and a half by rain. A massive thunderstorm coming through this track area earlier tonight. And setting us back a little while, but eventually the track dried. The fans still here, stuck with it. We appreciate that you did too. We've seen some pretty wild racing here lately.
Carl decided his car was faster than Diddy, so he would just knock him out of the way and go up there and lead. I tell you, if you ran into Dale Earnhardt like that back in the day, you better make sure you were fast enough to drive away from him, because you wouldn't make it to the next corner.
Top 10 through the field and check on our front runners. We'll start with the leader, Carl Edwards, and Lindsay.
Carl Edwards holds firm to that top spot, and you guys saw that. Your eyes weren't deceiving you. It was just a little bit of a love tap there for Denny Hamlin. His crew right now is debating whether they think that he can make it the entire way, but he had said that his problems feeling stiff in the corners are getting better, and they're just going to make that choice. But right now, he loves his car. Ralph?
Denny Hamlin's car is really tight, although he seems to be making his way to the front of the field okay, but it's not performing the way he wants it to. He is going to have to make one more stop, as is all the rest of the teams. They're planning their next stop to come around lap 180. That next car that we'll talk about is Clint Boyer. Now, Boyer is only, his lap times in the radio is about all he's hearing. The 2 car seems to be pretty good. He's very happy with it. No conversation back and forth from the driver. Scott Wimmer in the 66 has 2 sets of tires left to choose from. He's been real quiet on the radio. He's set to go, just waiting for that last pit stop to come, Lindsay.
The number 1 car of Mike Wallace has made its way up to 5th place. Mike Wallace said that he always flies over the tracks he's driving in his chopper. Today when he did it, he said this place looks just like a teardrop. Right now he says the car is great. They're going to pit with 10 to go. Ralph?
The 99 of David Rudiman is desperately in need of more front grip. That seems to be the problem that he is having to make the 99 as good as it can possibly be if he wants a shot at winning this thing. The 27 car of David Green has had a horrible night, as far as David will tell you, the way the car is running. But when you look at the running order, he's sitting in 7th. At one point in time, he thought he had a possible broken shot. And right now, he says in his current run, it's the worst it's ever been. But Lindsay, he's still solidly in the top 10.
Right behind David Green sits Kenny Wallace. Kenny Wallace is feeling great in his car right now because it was a little bit tough in the turns, but when they brought it in, they made an air pressure adjustment. Kenny says you guys did a great job. Ralph?
Harvick's car was the very tight just before this last pit stop. When they went to work on it, fixed it, and now Kevin says the car's in pretty good shape. Of course, he'll have one more shot to make another adjustment on it. And as we ramp up the top 10, that takes us to Reed Sorensen, who won this race just a year ago. He, too, is still lacking front-end grip on this car. And, Alan, they're planning on pitting around lap 170.
Which is about 22 laps from right now.
In the battle for the lead, these two have been going at it. But when Carl looks in his mirror, here comes Clint Boyer. He's the fastest car on the track. He's caught these two. We're fixing to have a three-way battle for the lead, Alan.
Boyer has had what he told me earlier today was the winning car the last 2 weeks that they didn't win with.
He might have it again. That thing's come alive here late going.
Boyer from Emporia, Kansas.
Side by side. Battle for the lead.
Yep, here we go. Carl just can't quite make it stick underneath Hamlin. Now, when Hamlin got the lead back from Carl Edwards, it looked a lot like the way Carl got the lead from Denny.
Well, Carl dove under a slow car, a lap car, passing him, and the guy squeezed him down onto the apron, got Carl sideways, and it was the opening that Denny needed. He drove back around Carl. Carl's obviously a little bit faster than Denny. When he got in front, Denny couldn't challenge him. And now that Denny's in front, Carl is just wearing Denny out. And here comes Boyer. This will be fun when they all three get there.
Yeah. So, 50 laps to go. About to have a three-way race for the lead. Another pit stop coming up. Let's take our break now so we can come back and see what happens up front here. Denny Hamlin, Carl Edwards have been the class of the field tonight, but company's coming in the form of Clint Boyer. So you want a little three-way race for the lead late in the event. How about inside of 50 laps to go? Denny Hamlin, Carl Edwards, and now Clint Boyer trading around those top three spots.
Look at Carl getting jiggy off the corner.
Now, Edwards and Hamlin running in the same spots they were when we went to the break. But it wasn't that way all the way during the break. Well, let's see. This is Carl going by Denny.
And look, licking his chops there in third. He's saying, race, boys, I'll be right there. Carl gets around Denny.
And then the return favor.
We've said all night long that it looked like that 20 car had something special down the straightaway. He used it right there to get the lead back. And now, there they are. Tied together.
And Clint Boyer right there. I'll tell you what, these two guys are racing hard.
I know it's fun too, isn't it?
It is.
We ran 130 laps and didn't Denny lead about 120 of them. And now they can't even decide who's going to lead the next lap.
And with Carl Edwards being a Columbia, Missouri guy, all these fans in this grandstand, just about all of them, are standing lap after lap after lap, trying to see if the hometown guy can take the win and get the lead. Actually, it would be the opposite. Take the lead and get the lead.
Well, I knew that.
You were with me there, weren't you? For now, things settle down just a bit, but it seems like every time they've settled down, they've flared back up again.
Well, a little bit of lap traffic. And, you know, also, Alan, we're closing in on another set of green flag pit stops. These guys could be coming to pit road any time now, any time in the next 10 laps or so.
He saved between 170 or so, somewhere in that ballpark.
Carl running the high line. Denny down on the bottom.
From the pit of second place runner Carl Edwards. Here's Lindsay.
You guys talked about all of the Carl Edwards fans standing up. Well, one of them is sitting on top of his pit box. The boy that you see is a 15-year-old Josh Basinger. And Josh Basinger is a child that first met Carl Edwards back in sometime after 2000. He's a child that suffers from a disease of the nervous system. He is here through Make-A-Wish, but Carl became such good friends with Josh that he invites him to his races. He was in a truck race with Carl a couple years ago in Daytona. He said, Josh, I'm going to win this race for you. Carl Edwards did. He made it to victory lane. He gave Josh the trophy. And today, he's hoping to do the same exact thing, guys.
Be just another one of the many happy people here in St. Louis if Carl Edwards is able to win tonight. But he's got to get around the man who's led the most laps, Denny Hamlin, in the Joe Gibbs Racing 20. Lap 161 complete. Down to the closing stages in St. Louis. A lot of NASCAR racing coming your way next weekend from Indianapolis. First Saturday, 10 a.m. TNT, Bud Pole qualifying from the Brickyard. And next Saturday night, 9 o'clock Eastern Time, NASCAR Busch Series racing from Indianapolis Raceway Park. And a week from tomorrow, 1:30 Eastern Time on NBC, the All-State 400 at the Brickyard. We start with Bank of America, countdown to green. Kyle Busch falling into the fray of the leaders, about to be put a lap down. One of the guys who's been on the tail end of the lead lap since the restart, just past the halfway point of the race. And Kyle running in 10th place and going to be a lap down. Brief update on Mike Wallace. He was in 5th place a minute ago. Not anymore.
Had a battery issue, had to come in and switch it out. It's a shame that car was running so. Mike's done a great job in that car. You know, he got in it partway through the season and sharing it with Cale Gill. By the way, I'd like to congratulate Cale, Mobile, Alabama native, won the partner race last night for the 30-lap overtime performance, which I've never had heard of before. But Cale's a development driver. He's sharing the seat with Mike, and I think that'll help Cale tremendously. Oh, what? Battle for the lead. Imagine that.
Edwards by Hamlin. Hamlin's going to try and double back. This has been good.
Look, Carl got up high. You saw those marbles start to flare out from his tires. I'm sure you heard it hitting on the bottom of the car. Probably made him back off and gave the lead right back. Did he ever? He didn't even lead the left, did he?
Not that one, no. So, Hamlin back out in front. And they are bottled up in traffic again.
Wow. These two, when they are twice in condition, were
just about since we came off of the last pit stops under the green and then the caution. Look at these people all standing. And they're seeing a great race between these two.
Every time, like you said earlier, Alan, every time you think they got it sorted out,
yeah,
here comes the other one. Charging up and trying to take the lead back. Carl's got to run off 2 there. Look how high the front end of that car is up on that straightaway. Even the way it sits down in the corner. Wait till you watch the All-State 400 from the Brickyard next week. You won't see any of that going on.
Yeah.
Those cars will be sealed straight to the ground all the way around. Here, it's a different story.
Got to take a break. Green flag pit stops coming up. If they start happening, they'll break out and come back. Right now, 2 men trying to settle this among themselves. The Busch Silver Celebration 250 on TNT is brought to you by AutoZone. The auto parts experts at AutoZone. Get in the zone. AutoZone. By Nexium. Learn more about Nexium at purplepill.com. And by Wendy's all-white meat crispy chicken sandwich. Do Wendy's. Do what tastes right.
I'm not going to guess what that purple pill does.
I can tell you what that one does because I've had that one before. That's acid reflux medicine. We have had, talk about do what tastes right. The commercial report, this race has been right for its second half tonight between Denny Hamlin and Carl Edwards, 20 and 60. Back and forth for the top spot. Now Carl has lost a few car lengths to Denny, but we're coming up on green flag pit stops.
When you watch how fast he's liable to gain those car lengths right back. They've gone back and forth like a yo-yo.
Well, it was interesting because on the first set of pit stops that happened in the race, under caution, lap 39, Edwards had a bad pit stop, fell from 2nd to 4th at the time. Then under the green flag pit stops that happened at the midpoint of the race, Hamlin had a bad pit stop. It got Edwards in front of him. Pressure's on these crews on this last stop.
It's going to be big. There's Rudeman. He just drove around Wimmer up to the 4th spot.
Nice job for the Michael Waltrip Racing entry tonight.
Man, I don't think that car has been in the top 5 since all those guys crashed in Nashville that day and I won. I think I've been paying for that ever since, but David's doing a great job. He's driven it up to the top 5 late in the going, and it has a fast car.
trying to say you made a withdrawal from the luck bank.
I overdrew.
Overextended, huh?
These pit stops are going to start happening regularly now, Alan.
How about Carl Edwards getting ready to come in? I see his crew standing up on the wall as we look down from the booth here in the front straightaway. Where is the 60 car? He's faded way back all of a sudden.
What's happened? I bet that's the case.
What's the case? He missed the pit entry the first time? Is that what we're hearing, Lindsay?
Lindsay, is that what they're saying?
That's exactly what happened, and it's devastating for this crew because they just had a meeting and they're trying to obviously find the quickest way they can get him in, get him out. He's coming around now. When he comes in, watch for the strategy that they're going to use. And now when you think about it, they're going to have to do everything they can to make up that time. Bottom line is for Carl, this car fits him like a glove. This is the car that he won with in Nashville and in Loudon. He almost made contact with crew and changed 2 tires because now they've got to conserve this time. That had been the plan all along, but we'll see how much they lost, guys.
It looked to me on the scoring monitor like it cost him about 3 seconds to Denny Hamlin, the amount of time he lost by missing pit road that first time.
And I'll go ahead and tell you, he lost another second or 2 trying to get in his pit when another car was leaving.
And he had to slow down.
He had to slow down. That cost him some time. There's the 41 car on pit road. He had been one of the cars that had remained on the lead lap after that restart, but now he falls a lap down.
And right side's only for Reed Sorensen.
We saw this work last night, Alan, in the ARCA race. Different tires, but the same track and the same mentality. 2 tires got the lead for Cale Gill last night. He was able to hold off Steve Wallace and win.
So now that the crew for Carl Edwards is taking just right side tires only, that pretty well puts Denny Hamlin's team in a box here.
Well, I think it might put everyone else in a box, but I think Denny has enough of a lead and enough of a cushion to where if he pits soon, now if he keeps running, he'll have to get 2, but if he pitted soon, he could get 4 tires and still remain in contact with Carl Edwards and maybe use that to an advantage and win the race. He's going to have to pit soon, though. He's losing time to Carl every lap right now.
Carl right now is a lap down to Hamlin. A lap and about a half a straightaway is all. So we'll keep an eye on this 20 car, see when he breaks for the pit road. Also Clint Boyer out there running about 3 seconds behind the leader right now in second place, and we'll see when he breaks for the pit road as well.
I just watched Carl, Alan. You see that gap right there? Yep. He was behind Boyer car going into turn 1. He passed him in turn 1 and put over a second on it. Look at that gap that he put on him in 1 turn. And so these tires that Carl has on right now are really helping his car. And you're right. When the 20 pits now, he's going to have to get 2 to stay in touch with Carl.
And the other thing is, the crew chief for Denny Hamlin, Dave Rogers, is walking that balance. Remember, last time we had a series of green flag pit stops, a caution came out before they were finished. He's balancing, trying to protect that, run as many laps as he can against the speed he's given up to Carl Edwards, who's got the fresher 2 tires.
And Carl is hauling. He's the fastest car on the track. He's running, he's visible. You can see him closing in on Denny. He's so much faster.
Talk about some tension on the crew chief.
That's what NASCAR racing is all about. There's not a right answer. You never know how the twists of fate are going to reach out and bite you.
Coming to the entrance to pit road once more, Hamlin will go by. And he'll come around and make it 17 laps to go. Denny Hamlin has led now 161 of the 183 laps that have been run tonight. It's not going to count if he doesn't lead the last one.
Well, his crew chief is really taking a chance here. This green flag stays out, Alan. He's going to come out well behind Carl Edwards.
Ralph?
The problem with the 99 is they are out of gas. David Rudiman has coasted the 99 to a stop. I'm struggling to see him get it started up.
Wow.
And it's still not ready to go yet. It was a great run they had with this car. Finally, they get it going, but it has cost them terribly running that car out of gas.
Yeah, that was a top 5 finish, probably just evaporated there.
Rough day on pit road for that crew.
Boy, I'll stay hard, buddy, stay hard.
All right, watching for the leader. Clint Boyer, second place on pit road. Denny Hamlin continues on around. Ralph, here comes Boyer.
If Clint Boyer's going to have a shot at winning this race, he needs to get this car tightened up. That's been the problem he has been having so far tonight. He's in his pit box and needs to get this crew to make an adjustment to the car to get it where he needs it to be. And it looks like all they're going to do is do it through air pressure and maybe the feeling that just 2 tires is going to be enough to tighten him up the way he needs to be.
All right, Boyer's out. Now on the track, Carl Edwards unlapping himself from Denny Hamlin.
He ran him down the straightaway, Alan. How far ahead is Carl going to be when Denny pits if he gets 2 tires? Is Denny just planning on getting a splash of gas?
Might be.
But he's losing so much ground on the racetrack. I don't see how that'll work.
9.
So we'll see how long Hamlin waits till he pits. The David Ruderman car, the bad news continues, going to have a penalty for too many men over the wall. The 8th man doing work besides just servicing the driver, so he'll have to make a pass-through penalty. Here comes Hamlin, the leader, to the pits with 13 laps to go. I hope they're not superstitious.
Wow. I know Harvick is. He's got a bunch of 21s going on. Where's he running? You better watch him.
Yeah, he just pitted. Hamlin, I say 13 to go because he will click that over to 13 to go as he crosses the start-finish line on pit road.
Man, he looked awful fast through that first box, Alan. I hope he got that thing slowed down in time. But he could be toast right here. Yeah, Carl caught him a straightaway. Carl's pit stop was about 7 seconds. Let's see what Denny does.
All right, Ralph, here's the critical stop.
Oh, what a gamble this is going to be, Alan. Fuel only for the 20. That's it. And away he goes. Now, what adds to the stress on this call is the fact that he said over the radio, this is the tightest the car has been on a run so far tonight. It's not handling as good as it did anywhere throughout the course of the evening, and they're taking a huge gamble. They thought they were originally going to pit around lap 180. They took it all the way to 186 and only took fuel.
And there's the interval from Denny Hamlin back to Carl Edwards. We'll check it in terms of time as they cross the start-finish line. But that's the gap that Edwards has to try and make up again on the fresher tires.
Man, we just saw him make up a straightaway just 10 laps ago.
2.2 seconds in 12 laps.
I think that's going to happen in 5 laps.
We'll find out. Lindsay, how about Carl?
Carl and his crew have full confidence that he'll be able to do it. I just talked to his crew chief here at Q-Tel, and I said, does he have what it takes to get past Hamlin? And he said, I absolutely think it does. I said, what is the strategy now become? And he said, well, there's no possible way that Hamlin can afford to take tires, so we're going to beat him that way.
And that's the call, you know. The 60 car forced the 20 car's hand, and the 20 car didn't pit. They said, we think we might catch a caution, or we think we can win on gas and go. It'll be interesting to see, but Carl's closing.
It was 2.2 seconds with 12 to go. With 11 to go, it was 1.8 seconds.
That's enough to do it. That's enough extra speed. Huh? I did the math.
Ralph, how about the leader?
The frustration under the helmet of Denny Hamlin is growing. He just chimed in on the radio. Man, it is so incredibly tight. This is not the race car Denny Hamlin was hoping to have to battle with 10 laps to go. And guys, we talked about it earlier, when the driver's quiet, all is good. Now, Michael, he's feeling the frustration, and he sees the 60 coming in the rearview mirror.
Yep, and it's going to happen in a hurry.
Carl Edwards took 0.6 of a second off of Denny Hamlin last lap. Now it's just car lengths. He might get it before this lap's over.
Look at that. That just goes to show you how pit strategy. Remember what we said earlier, how many twists and turns you have to take in order to win one of these silly races? I bet you Denny is hot. He says, I'm going to block the bottom and cross it. Take it anywhere you want, brother.
New leader, Carl Edwards. These Missouri fans going crazy in the grandstand. Just over 8 laps to go for Carl Edwards.
But there's just over 8 laps to go. And if the caution comes out now, some of these guys shoot to pit road. Ooh, it'd be crazy.
Oh. What a race of ups and downs. The green flag, pit stops followed by the caution flag, the pit stop problems both these drivers had earlier, then the tremendous hard-fought racing between the two, back and forth, trading the lead.
And you know, and Pierre looks like a genius now. He stopped early, got 2 tires, forced Denny's hand. Denny didn't respond. What if the caution comes out during the time in which Carl had pitted and Denny didn't? Then all of a sudden, Pierre looks like a Dumbo. I mean, you can't tell what's going to happen.
More on Carl from Lindsay.
Well, Pierre just got on the radio to Carl and said, Carl, you got the car exactly where you want to be. Hang tight, just finish it up.
Well, I think Carl's in that mode right now. He understands that barring a caution, he just has to keep it between the fences. He also understands that if a caution comes out, Pierre better be ready to make another decision in a hurry.
See Carl Edwards running right behind David Green. 27 car, last car on the lead lap in 7th place. Nice drive tonight for the former champion Green.
He was very confident about his car. We talked to him before the race, and he felt like he was going to have a good night, and he was right. He's been real steady. Getting ready to go back down here with just 6 laps to go.
Carl Edwards came into this race second in the championship, a mile behind Kevin Harvick. He's not going to gain a lot of ground tonight as Harvick runs in 6th place. Pierre Cattell told me where the championship is concerned, at this point in the year, all we can do is the best we can do each week and just see what happens. And the best they can do tonight has been great.
They will gain some points, obviously, on Harvick, more than they usually do.
Yeah.
Usually Harvick's around, if he doesn't win, he's in the top 5, and he might still get there. Right now he's running 6th.
It's been kind of a big week for Carl Edwards. We talked about him being a pilot. Earlier this week, he was up in Oshkosh, Wisconsin at the EAA Air Venture. It's kind of the nation's big airplane convention for pilots and plane people. Carl got to fly in an F-18, a fighter jet, a DC-3, one of the old Douglas airplanes, and a Ford Tri-Motor. Said it was, and flew in Jack Roush's P-51 with Jack. Said it was a tremendous experience when I talked to him about it this morning. Came here relaxed, refreshed, ready to race, very excited about performing before his home state fans. Does own a home in Columbia, Missouri, the home he grew up in. Said that he's been spending more time there this year than he had in previous years as he's better learned how to manage the demands of being an XL Cup driver and the scheduling that goes along with it. And he's 2.5 laps away from a victory. I hate to go to the point, but these fans are going to flip out.
I hope they don't hurt themselves trying to flip out like he does.
2 laps to go.
And the fans are on their feet, cheering, happy about what they're fixing to see, they think. Just remember, there's 2 laps to go. I've seen these drivers mess up with less to go.
Going to put a lap on Erin Crocker in the 98, who's done a very solid job tonight.
A really good job. I'm real proud of Erin's night tonight. She's top 20. That's not easy to do, and she's been steady and stayed out of trouble and just real consistent. And Carl falls in behind her there and takes the white flag.
Final lap here in St. Louis tonight for Carl Edwards of Columbia, Missouri. Looking for his 4th NASCAR Busch Series win of the season. A tremendous fight between he and Denny Hamlin, but Carl's crew got the strategy right, got him out in position to take advantage of fresh tires and speed to get by Hamlin and take the lead with 9 laps to go. Final corner coming up. And the checkered flag is up for Carl Edwards, a very popular win. He takes tonight's Busch Silver Celebration 250.
Boyer battle for second.
Hamlin and Boyer for second spot. It looks like Boyer nipped him by 1,000th of a second.
Wow. That's
incredible.
That's adding insult to injury, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
He didn't need that aggravation right before he got ready to get out of the car.
I'll tell you how much those 3 guys were the class of the field. We were still waiting to see 4th place Reed Sorensen take the checkered flag. He's just done it now.
And you have to realize that Reed was a lap down, or on the tail end of the lead lap, and he was able to run all the way around back up to a 4th place finish. And Harvick, another top 5.
Yeah, came home with 5th. These fans know what they're waiting to see. You saw Carl Edwards already reaching to get those driving gloves off.
What a popular win this is. Fireworks going off, crew members jumping the wall, thousands of, listen to that roar, race fans that can't wait to see this man hop out of this car and do his deal. Look at everybody standing back. That might have been the best one yet. Definitely one of the most energetic ones. How can you not be pumped up, Alan, listening to all these fans show their appreciation?
Something to him. Wow. They're going to steer Carl over to victory lane. We will take a break, come back and talk to him there. Carl Edwards from Missouri wins at Gateway International Raceway just outside of St. Louis. Back live, Gateway International Raceway. Our freecreditreport.com race recap. Carl Edwards with his 4th win this season. He led 26 of the 200 laps. Denny Hamlin led 169. But it was Carl who came up with the win. Ralph?
Wow. Well, there's going to be a lot of that going on for a while. All right, congratulations, Carl. I know winning here meant a lot to you, but can you put it into words for us what it means?
I can't even tell you. I just got to thank PK. I almost really got us there wheel hopping into the pits, and he made a great call. I don't know what to say. This is the biggest win yet, man. Just to win here at Gateway in front of these hometown crowds. And I got to say, Denny Hamlin is a hell of a driver, man. That was so much fun. I bumped him once and got by him. He bumped me a little bit and got by me. I haven't had that much fun racing with somebody for a long time, so just so happy. It was a long week for me. You know, I had a lot to think about. I'm just glad to be back here winning a race. I can't believe it.
As tough as the racing was on the racetrack, it looked like the tough decisions in the pits made a big part of the difference. How tough was that call for you guys?
It was easy for me. I've determined that PK, Pierre Cutel, is a smart individual. I got to thank everybody in the engine shop, everybody at Hinkle, Office Depot, Coca-Cola. I didn't have to make any decisions, man. I just got to drive a great race car. And just, once again, Denny Hamlin, I can't say enough. What a great driver.
Carl, congratulations. You've won your home state race. Let's go to Lindsay Zarniak.
Thanks, Ralph. Clint Boyer finds his 5th second-place finish in the Busch Series this season. I mean, you're going to win one soon, man?
I tell you, these guys, I told them this week, we keep knocking on a door like that, and it's bound to come. Just really proud of all the guys on the AC Delco Chevrolet. Everybody in the Busch shop has been working hard. These 2 Busch cars are second to none out there, and we're showing it. You know, really proud of them, and it's coming. Getting anxious, but you know, I know it's coming.
You started 11th. You ended up 2nd, but that wasn't without some hard racing there at the end. Tell me about that.
Yeah, it was. You know, Denny, we had the tires and he didn't, and you know, he did what he had to do to try to defend himself, and I did what I had to do. I wasn't going to wreck him, you know, I wasn't going to put us in that situation, but you know, I nudged him a little bit, and I'm sure if he was in the same situation, he'd do the same. But just good, hard racing. Congrats to Carl. I guess 1-2 finish. We'll go out and have some fun on the dirt track tomorrow night. So thank you.
Clint Boyer will try to find that win next week in Indianapolis. Al?
All right, Lindsay, thanks.
Wow, look at those fireworks, Alan. They're still going on.
Big celebration here.
Think they had extra in case Carl won?
I doubt that, but it's working out okay for him.
And the unleaded fuel that Sunoco provided?
Was no issue tonight in any negative way, right?
Not at all. Just better for the environment.
And a good debut for that. And a good race tonight, especially the second half of the night as Carl Edwards picks up his 9th career NASCAR Busch Series win. We check the finishing order.
Well, you can see a normal cast of characters up toward the front there.
Yeah.
But Kevin Grubb, what a hats off to him. Great run, top 10 finish. David Rudiman back to 14th after some problems on pit road. That was a shame. Aaron Crocker again, top 20 finish. Proud of her.
Bernie Lamar, the highest finishing rookie in the race tonight. Look at some of the other runners.
Augie,
had their troubles, got lapsed. Mike Wallace there with a battery problem, dropped him to 29th at the finish. He was running 5th at the time of his issue.
You know, Alan, when the show started, we talked about options, and that's what won Pierre and Carl the race. They opted to get 2 tires, take a chance, pit before the rest of them, and gain track position. They did it. It worked perfectly.
Would have been in trouble if the caution had come out before Hamlin had pitted, but that's not how things broke for them, and they're holding the big trophy.
They are, and I love the way the race went down. Everything that we talked that would be a factor in this race at some point or another was a factor, and it was fun to see that man win because of the fans. There must be 50,000 people here, and none of them are disappointed.
Hoping to get a word with Denny Hamlin before we left the air, but we're out of time, especially overtime due to the rain delay, and Denny has asked for some time to gather his thoughts, so it doesn't look like that's going to happen before we leave the air. Hey, Mike, thanks for taking your weekend off and coming up here and doing this with us.
Thank you for having me. I enjoyed it so much. It was a lot of fun. I don't think these fans are going to leave out. They're still doing fireworks.
That'll let us get a jump on the traffic. How's that? Next week, TNT with Indianapolis. Coverage Saturday morning at 10 with front pole qualifying in the Busch Series race next Saturday night from IRP. For Michael Waltrip, Ralph Shaheen, and Lindsey Zarniak, Alan Bestwick, so long from St. Louis. Carl Edwards wins.
This copyrighted telecast may not be reproduced, retransmitted, or used in any form without the authorized written consent of NASCAR Broadcasting. NASCAR would like to thank all of our loyal fans for your continued support, and we hope you enjoyed today's broadcast.